Hey guys, today we want to talk all about how do we as advisors make money, right? It's a big question, so want to break it down, want to simplify it for you. But if this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Michael Foley. I'm a certified financial planner and certified student loan professional, and I'm also the son of two doctors, and I've really developed Lifestyle Creep to help the healthcare workers in our society to, really make more informed financial decisions through really simplifying the complex for you in the financial world. So looking forward to diving in with this into this with you today, and so welcome. But so let's dive in. So the big question is, we get it all the time, and I want to make sure that our clients are completely clear on how do we as advisors get paid. And so trust me, it's not going to be as complicated as trying to explain how like an RVU might work in your guys' world, right? But it's a lot more straightforward. So hopefully it'll be helpful for you guys to understand that. But before we dive in, I think it's important to understand that not all advisors work in all these different capacities, but I think it's important to know how can advisors get paid, and then we're going to go through how we as advisors on our team get compensated, so you can have an understanding of where things are at. But I think as you're shopping out advisors and making sure you're finding the right fit, I think outside of just relationally someone that you can trust and someone that you care for, that's someone that you can kind of you want to build your finances in, integrate them into your financial lives. I think it's also important to know how are they paid, right? Because I think there are some there's ways that financial incentives could get in the way of making good educated decisions and informed decisions for you. And so I think it's helpful to know how people are compensated so that you can ensure that as well. And so let's start off. So the main one, as a certified financial planner, we're this additional training that we have to go through to kind of like a fellowship in your guys' world, and we're trained to be comprehensive in our advice giving. And so we're held to a higher standard than a typical financial advisor in that we report to our CFP board, and we have to make sure that whenever we make a recommendation for a client, that recommendation has to be made in the context of the overall financial plan for you. And so we have to know the impacts of when we made one recommendation, maybe on your student loans. We got to know the tax implications. We got to know the potential investment implications. We got to understand the opportunity cost of putting it towards the student loans and not towards some other area of your plan, right? We got to know what other insurances we might need to make sure we have to make sure that we're filling those gaps, right? So we got to make sure we're looking holistically at your situation, your overall plan, and not just making a specific recommendation in one area. So the best thing is to think about it as we never want to compare alternatives to alternatives, right? We want to compare alternatives to the plan, and what is the actual objective that we have in the plan. And so that's as a certified financial planner, that's how we're going to be framing all of our conversations. And so in order for us to be objective in that and to truly be your planner outside of any sort of implementation, we charge a monthly fee from our clients. So that allows us to come alongside you as your professional financial counsel, to be your objective counsel in these financial decisions that you're trying to make. And so typically in a monthly financial planning arrangement, usually as we're onboarding, the first 4 to 5 meetings or so, it happened within the first couple months of engaging. This is where we really got to get to know you, right? This is not our plan, this is your plan. And so it's important that we have a good grasp of kind of what is going on in your situation. What are you trying to extract from your money as far as life is concerned, and how can we make sure that we're aligning your finances appropriately? But we find that there's not a lot of education in this world around financial literacy, and so a lot of those first meetings are all just educational based to help make sure that we're going through all of the areas of the financial plan, making sure that you're buttoned up, and then getting to a point where we run some retirement projections. And so we can say, all right, maybe that's a ways off. I know some of you guys want it to happen tomorrow, so that's why we typically don't ask when do you want to retire, because usually the answer is tomorrow, right? But it's running some projections to really identify how much is enough. So that's kind of the consistent theme in this realm, is how much is enough for you to live off of, right? And how much is enough for you to be saving, right? The goal is not to just continue making more money and trying to trim our budget to save more money. A lot of times it's trying to figure out how can we repurpose the money that we have been blessed with to to get the most life out of the money that we have. And so that's our job as your financial planner. So we charge a specific fee for that. And then typically on an ongoing basis, we meet every 6 months. And on that 6 month, we do kind of a checkup with you, make sure that we're going to have specific goals for you every 6 months. We want to see how we did against those goals and set new goals. But then we also provide more of an on-call service. So that's why we do this on a monthly basis as opposed to a pay per hour. Because what we found is that a lot of people, if we just paid per hour, they wouldn't reach out to us in between those 6 month cycles. And they would let these financial decisions, they'd make them without our counsel, and then they'd let them fester. And then we get to the 6 months and then like, oh gosh, we got to unwind all these different things. Whereas if we could have just been alongside you and your family in that decision, we might be able to provide a better counsel for you in the moment. So our clients, we have an on-call service. So whenever you guys have any sort of questions, think of us as your primary care for your finances in this financial planning domain. So that's kind of the core of how we operate, and that's how we're compensated from that. But alongside the plan, a part of a prudent financial plan is making sure that we have the right insurances in place too. And so we operate as a broker. So we can broker out any of these insurances for you. And so we are able to be objective in that. So we work with several different companies, and so we can kind of show you what's on the market and kind of look at the pros and cons of the various companies. But the compensation on any of these insurances, they all work the same, right? And so whether that's life, disability, long-term care insurance, what have you, built into the premium that you pay on a monthly basis is a compensation that goes to the advisor's team that helps you to implement that product for you, right? So if you go, instead of going through us, you go directly to one of the insurance companies directly because you're like, hey, I don't want to use a broker, I don't want to pay extra. Well, you're not actually paying extra. You're going to pay the same amount to that company directly, but the difference is that internal, that kind of compensation that's built into the premium is going to go to their internal sales team as opposed to coming to our team, right? So it's price neutral to you as the consumer, but it's one way that we're compensated. So we obviously like to tell you about that, and so that's why we'd love to be able to help you alongside that if that is a direct need in the plan, right? So then the last thing is making sure that a lot of our clients need to make sure that we have good investment management. So a lot of our clients are going to have their bulk of their investments through their retirement account through their employer, right? But we may need to be supplementing and setting up other investment accounts, and a lot of times we want to make sure that is completely integrating with the financial plan. And so we can provide that investment management for you. And so we charge a percentage based off of how much money is in the account that we're managing for you. And so it allows us to really, tailor the investments for you. And we can really make sure that we have specific purpose for each one of our investments and optimize that and kind of personalize that for what is going on in your financial plan. But the big thing is that life changes, right? And so a lot of things change over time, and so we need to make changes to those investments. And so that's why we set it up as a percentage of how much money is in there, not a per transaction, right? There are other ways, other advisors that might charge on a per transaction. So every time you place a trade or make a change to your investment, we as the advisor would make the money on any change, right? Well, that doesn't align with how our clients operate because we're going to need to be fluid in this because, we got to maintain flexibility. And so we just charge a percentage that is, usually around 1% of what is in the account for us to add, be your professional manager on that. And then if we need to make changes to it, you don't get nickel and dime throughout the year for those sorts of things. So, but that is one way. We don't make it mandatory for our clients to do their investments with us, but we do find better outcomes when we do fully integrate that into the plan because, a lot of times when we're looking at this stuff, we see our financial plan here, we see our student loan plan here, and then we see our investment plan here, right? And then we got insurance up here, but it oftentimes can be very disjointed, and so it's really important that if we can bring this all together and really develop a cohesive plan together and really fully integrate that, we see better outcomes for our clients with that sort of stuff. So essentially, in summary, there's 3 different ways that we as advisors can be compensated. So like I said, a lot more simplistic than like an RVU complication, but but essentially we charge a monthly retainer to our clients for us to be your professional counsel to really be that fiduciary for you and make sure that we are being that objective counsel for you in that. If you need insurances, we can broker that to you. It doesn't cost you anything for us to do that for you, but it is one way that we're compensated if you use us to do that. And then if you need investment management, We charge a percentage of how much money is in the account, but it allows us to make changes and things like that, and you're not getting nickel and dimed every time we make a change. So hopefully this has been helpful to just kind of, go through a quick summary of how we can be compensated so you can make sure that you know how this all works, because it really doesn't need to be super complicated. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.